Hi, following the last video I posted yesterday regarding this bungalow that I bought to be able to convert the actual land into two separate plots of land so I can build a second bungalow at the front of the existing one. What I wanted to talk about was on this video is something called ransom strip. So this is basically where you have a plot of land, and you will see on the picture that I put in this video that it's a quite long, thin plot of land that I bought with the idea that I would be able to split the land and put two different houses. One of the existing ones stays at the back, and at the front of the plot we'll put a second bungalow. When I looked at the land registry information in that local area, you could see that all of the other houses have done exactly the same. So before I even bid it for it in the auctions, I knew what the plan was and what my exit strategy would have been. Second, it's a really nice area, so the average price of these bungalows are nice and healthy there. So as a second exit, if the first one didn't work out, I'd be able to pull most of my money out either by selling the plot as a quick refurb and flip, or retaining it for a rental for future. So at the back of this plot, as you can see from the picture that I've posted, it's a long and narrow, well, relatively narrow plot. Right now, the access to this house is from the front, and the idea now is to split the land, title split that into two separate plots, with the existing bungalow gaining access in and out from the back, which is currently the garden. At the back of that fence, currently in the garden, there is something called a ransom strip. So it's really in this case, it is no more than 2.5 meter wide of a strip of grass, which is at the back of the fence and leads up to the pavement and the and the curb. So this bit of let's say 6 feet worth of grass is owned by somebody else. So you may or may not have noticed in auctions sometimes they sell these parcels of land, and there's still like squiggly red lines on a auction catalog, and you wonder, and I used to wonder, well, what is that? Why do people buy this? In effect, this is why they buy it, because they are hedging their bet that somebody like me will come along, buy this plot, and then ask and need to ask them for their permission, and also pay for the privilege of going over this literally 2 meter worth of grass, so I can get from my fence to the road. And to do that, you need to negotiate with them to be able to buy that access. So currently, the process that I've undertaken has been so far. I've spoken to my solicitors, and we've managed to locate who owns this piece of strip. That in itself is a challenge, because sometimes you buy something and you don't know who owns it, and it takes a lot longer to try and figure out and find out who they are, so that you can then approach them to be able to get the authorization. Because otherwise, you could, somebody might be thinking, I could do this and not asked, and A, they might not find out, and B, I don't have to pay. I would advise against that, because when it comes to refinancing, remortgaging, or even selling this house, you will need to show that you have access to the house, of course, and that's actually been registered on the land registry. So definitely don't go down that route. In this scenario, we managed to find out who it is, and it is a large development company, and we're currently in negotiation with them to try and agree a price. I think what's interesting is how they value that price. In effect, they've given me a bit of a rough calculation as to where they think the value will be, and it goes like this. Let's assume the current plot with the long plot with the bungalow is around 350,000. If and when I develop it and I get planning permission, and I can put another bungalow there. Let's say now that second bungalow is also 350,000. What the housing company want is a third of the value of the new land with planning permission. So in this scenario, the new £350,000 bungalow will be sitting on this plot of land. And the way roughly it's worked out, you normally say a third is the land cost, a third's the build cost, a third's for profit for developers. So let's assume that's the rough calculation that we're going with. In this scenario, then a third of 350,000, you're looking at roughly 100, it's about 117,000. But for the sake of math, let's say it's 120,000 for the developer profit, 120 for the land, 120 for the build. If that's the scenario we're going for, then in this case, the land value with planning permission will be 120,000. Then they will take that 120,000 and guesstimate how much the land value is if in its current shape and form. So it's basically a bungalow with a long garden. How much is that worth, that piece of land with no planning? And to guesstimate, we're saying, let's say it's 20,000. To do that, we're looking at comparables of bungalows in the area with shorter gardens and how much they're worth. So let's say this, we come to a £20,000 value to that. So then the developers or the ransom strip owners will take 120,000, take away the 20,000 that they think the land has the value of currently. That will give £100,000 worth of the land value. And then using case law that already is entrenched, they will use that formula of 33.3%. So they would want 33.3% of the land value with planning permission. In this scenario, it'll be 33.3% of 100,000. So really, you can see why people buy these ransom strips. So doing nothing, this company will more likely make around 33,500 pounds worth of cash for really doing nothing. And I'm sure we'll have to pay the legals and the surveyor costs and everything else. So I will probably be in it for, if I can get it for 33.3, I will probably be in it for a cost of around 40,000 by the time we put all the legals and stuff on it. So I just wanted to kind of share that finding around ransom strip and give a bit of a better understanding around it. How does it work? What to be aware of if you are looking at buying a plot of land and you find yourself seeing that there is a distance between the current fence and the road. Make the assumption until you check it out that there would be somebody who owns that strip of land, and you might have to pay some ransom strip cost to that person or that company. So my name is Azid. I am a developer and an investor for the last 20 years. I've done basically vanilla buy-to-let, HMOs, commercial conversions, SA, so we're doing a load of Airbnbs. And in the last kind of 7 or 8 years, I've been engaging in this title splitting strategy, which I find is very lucrative, although quite complex and quite convoluted. But the idea being that you would buy something like a block of flats, or in this scenario, a house with a large plot, and then you will pursue this title splitting strategy. When it comes to block of flats, I find that it's the most lucrative sweet spot for title splits, because you're taking a large block and on a freehold and splitting into individual flats. By doing that, you then after you've done a refurb and created the lease, you're increasing the value of each of these flats more than the sum of them sitting under one freehold. By doing that, you then increase your ability to make a profit. And in my case, I tend to retain all of the flats and rent them for long-term passive income, but others decide to strip the asset down, maybe keep the freehold, and then sell all the leases. So if you're interested, I also offer a mentoring program on a one-to-one, really, because I mentor people individually based on their goals and their desire and their personal objectives. So doing it on a classroom based, to me it's sometimes quite a waste of time, especially around title split, because it's quite a complex strategy. So I spend quite a lot of time understanding the person's goals and objectives, timelines, and I'm pretty realistic with what I kind of convey to them at the outset. And if we agree and we both feel that there is value to be gained from us working together, then we enter in a contract, and I offer either a one-off project, mentorship, and or a 6-month program or a 12-month program. So if you're interested, get in touch via my Facebook group, Title Splitting Properties on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram, quiddity_group. So that's QUIDDITY_group. Or you can drop me an email, azid@quidditygroup.co.uk. Thanks, and I'll see you on the next video.